Present.
Councilman Burley.
Here.
Councilman Morgan.
Here.
Councilman Collins.
Here.
Councilman Pollard.
Here.
And Councilman Farmer.
Here.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, Council. At this time, I'd like to turn to our City Manager to lead us in prayer, please.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Gracious God, our Lord and our Savior, God, we thank you so much for allowing these men and women to assemble here tonight. God, I pray that you would guard their hearts, guide their minds, guide their thoughts, so that collectively they can make the best decision for this city. God, you've already prepared them. You've already anointed them with special gifts. So God, I ask that tonight that they use those gifts to uplift your kingdom, to do what's best for this city. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. City Manager, for that prayer, and thank you, Council. At this time, is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
No.
Second. All right, we have a motion to properly second, and I believe that Councilmember Tucker would have a substitute motion.
Yes, I would just like to request an amendment to the agenda to add executive session for the purpose of legal.
All right, is that a motion?
That is in the form of a motion.
Second.
All right, a motion to properly second. And everybody, just to let you know, we'll go in reverse order. Is there any discussion? All right. All in favor? Oh, I tell you what, let's do this. Let's go with, let's get the ayes and noes in here. I saw hands. All right. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Or no? All right. Motion carries. So we'll be adding executive session for legal. At the end of the mayor's announcements. All right, thank you, Council. All right, at this time, is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 13th, 2022, called meeting?
It's a motion.
Second.
I have a motion to properly second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Council. And at this time, we'll do our speaker appearances. Ms. Judy Tucker.
Alcohol beverage catering. I don't think it's a good thing for us to bring people from Atlanta down to cater to our city. And I don't think, even though you might charge a small fee, the funds is not going to benefit Camilla, and it's going to make our, it's going to make it worse here for our folks. I'm opposed to the new voting machines. I don't think it's a good thing to spend $71,000 or $48,000 or 60 whatever thousand, whatever the amount's going to be, especially when there's other options to be considered for that. And I also believe that we should put the $702,000 back into the net funds, which is a higher the trust funds, instead of leaving it in a lower money market account. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Tucker. And just to make sure, are there anyone else that would like to speak tonight? Just in case you missed the list. All right.
Are those all the public speakers? speakers that have signed up then.
Yes.
And so for the record, I have provided each of the council members, Harrison Edwards. Would you like me to read it into the record?
No,
Or
ma'am.
just submit it? Okay.
Yes.
Harrison Edwards has submitted to each council member because of him being absent tonight, for the record, his opposition to the current youth council or resolution.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Tucker. All right, any other comments or speaker appearances? All right, thank you, Council. All right, at this time, we're going to our action items. Councilman Paul.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, our wonderful guest, citizen of Camilla. August 8th, 2022, action items, City of Camilla, as presented. 8, the mayor and council held the first reading on ordinance to provide for the license and regulation of licensed alcohol beverages catering. At their regular meeting on July 11, 2022, the council has determined to further define catering service by licensed alcohol beverages caterer and determine that alcohol beverages catering will promote events within the city and provide additional economic development of the city. The second reading of the ordinance number 2022-08-08-1 is being conducted tonight. The council recommends adoption of ordinance numbers 2022-08-08-1 and authorize the mayor to sign. This is in the form of a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Council, I'll just point out that the primary reason for introducing this particular item, and as mentioned earlier, related to out of this region, if you will, potential business owners, promoters, this type of thing. Up north, that space is becoming the entertainment space is becoming extremely congested up north. It is expected that the entertainment world, if you will, here in Georgia is going to expand. And one of the places where we're seeing a lot of activity as it relates to entertainment is here in Southwest Georgia. And I think providing an opportunity for promoters to come and utilize one of our 3 entertainment zones to include the new stadium, I think could be a tremendous boost to our local economic activity. And for that reason, I support this ordinance. I yield the floor. Any other comments?
As we look to downtown and the businesses downtown and the future growth of Camilla, our downtown Camilla, there are a lot of businesses downtown that, as we can see around 5 o'clock, they're not thriving. They're dead. There is nothing going on in Camilla around 5 o'clock. But I'm reminded that if we want to see increase in growth, that means we must do something. We must increase foot traffic. And where did the foot traffic come from? People. Without people, there is no growth. And I think that it's time that these business owners downtown, they start to have some growth. Because if not, they're going to continue to suffer. It's going to continue to look like it is now, empty buildings, vacant buildings. Because there is simply no action downtown. But when we think in terms of that, if we just think in terms of the Cinco de Mayo, what does it add? What value did it add to downtown? Downtown was packed from 11 o'clock that morning up until 11 o'clock that night. The business was thriving. They saw increase. They was happy. But for us to sit here and say, no, it will not benefit Camilla, I we better take a look and ask these downtown business owners, what does that look like? And would they welcome that? I surely think they would. I get the floor.
All right, thank you, Councilman. All right, any other discussion?
I have one as well.
Yes, sir.
I just wouldn't like for us to get hung up in outsiders coming in. While that is a good thing, this also opens up an opportunity for some of our local businesses and neighboring communities as well to come in and assist our community and help us move in the direction that we're looking to move to. So I yield the floor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor? All opposed? All right, thank you. Motion carries. All right, thank you, Council.
Thank you. B, the mayor and council discussed resolution number 2022-08-08-1 at their work session on August the 1st, providing for the establishment of the Camilla Youth Council. The Youth Council will be established to provide the city's youth with the opportunity to participate in the city decision-making process, create projects and activities for the community, and to instill a sense of civics responsibility. Therefore, becoming effective leaders helping to shape the future of Camilla, the council recommends approval of resolution number 2022-08-08-1, allocating a $5,000 budget for economic development funds and authorize the mayor to sign. This is also in the form of a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion?
I'd like to again emphasize that I'd like to see us make a slight amendment to the proposal on page 2, section 2, under membership qualifications and terms. Again, I feel like that we are exempting some city residents, let me say Camilla taxpayers' children, that would not be given the opportunity to participate in this if they are homeschooled or if they attend school outside of the city limits. And so the current language reads, currently reside and attend school. And so I would like for it to be currently reside. And then in parentheses it said, and to include private, public, or charter schools.
All right. Before we get into that particular, in fairness to Councilmember Tucker, I just want to remind you that in terms of how we do this, if you would like to offer a substitute motion, you're obviously capable of doing that. But I didn't want to continue to go on. If your
Certainly,
intent,
I wanted to see if there was some conversation that others might have come to that same reality that this is discriminating against people who are residents of the city of Camilla, taxpayers' children that reside in Camilla. If we are exempting children that are homeschooled and children that attend school outside the city limits, whereas they are still city residents and their parents are taxpayers.
okay.
I agree with Ms. Tucker. The only way to do it is do it right, is to make it broad, and this is too narrow to get thrown up.
Okay. And again, just so that in fairness to your concern, that once the question is called, then that pretty much knocks it down. But if your preference is to continue this particular line as it relates to this discussion on the current motion, we can definitely continue to do that.
Certainly. In an effort to be cooperative with the council and let's form a youth council, I'd like to offer an amendment for that change in section 2 to currently reside, and then to change to attend school in a public, private, or charter school.
Okay. So the What I will do, and again, council, and just for the public also, what we do is we work in reverse. So, and I'm assuming Councilwoman, that is a motion.
Yes, sir, I did it in the form of amending a motion. Yes, I did.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion as it relates to Councilwoman Tucker's amendment? All right, again, we go in reverse. We'll vote on Councilmember Tucker's amendment motion first, and then we'll go back to the original motion, if you will. If you can restate it.
Yes, I will be glad to. Youth council members should be a high school age student that currently resides in the city of Camilla, attending school in a public, private, or charter school, and I guess we should also add homeschool to that amendment, because their parents would also be citizens, and they would be citizens of Camilla. So, private, public, homeschool, and charter.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So we have a motion's been properly seconded, and again, any discussion? So what I would point out to the council members' motion is this. You know, as a council, as a legislative body, government should not be getting into the business of telling parents where their kids should go to school. If a parent or a household has made a decision, if they are a resident of Camilla, Georgia, that they want to send their child to a school outside of Camilla, that is clearly the business of those parents. The government has absolutely no business getting into that. So I want to make sure that there's nothing in this resolution that suggests that parents are forced to do anything as it relates to where their children go to school. If a child is currently residing in the city of Camilla, and if the parents are property owners here in the city of Camilla, and just on that note, let me just say this. The city of Camilla is a full-service city, and I know, you know, sometimes that's a catch line, if you will, but what it means is that we own our utilities. So whether you're a taxpayer or a ratepayer, if you're paying for utilities, you are contributing to this government. And I would ask members of the council and for the public to have a look at our 2021-2022 budget and you'll actually see by the revenue that's generated there how that is split up in terms of tax revenue and the ratepayers. And I think that all citizens here in the city, here in the city, whether you're a property owner or a ratepayer, you contribute to this city. So I just want to point that out. And then lastly, what I would say is, as it relates to the decision for parents to send their kids to school, their children out of the city for school, it's important to understand the purpose of this youth council. And I think I want to point out Section 1, the establishment of a Camilla Youth Council. And I'll be real brief on this. A City of Camilla Youth Council will be established to provide the city's youth with the opportunity to participate in the city's decision-making process, create projects and activities for the community, and instill a sense of civic responsibility, thereby becoming effective leaders helping to shape the future of Camilla. The Camilla Youth Council members will be the voice of the adolescent population and will assist with implementing the recommendations of various citywide plans. What that means is these are students. And basically, it's going to be a smaller version or a younger version of the body that you're seeing here. They will meet upstairs or meet in this room, and they will determine resolutions, and policies that they will submit to the city council in the name or in the voice of kids that are here and students that are here in the city of Camilla. Now, one of the ways that they're going to be able to do that is in the schools here in the city of Camilla. They're going to have a captive audience. The only way that they can affect, if you will, the policies of the youth in this town to this council is that they have to have the ability to talk to the youngsters that are in school with them. That's the only way you can do that. When that youth council member is sitting in class at Mitchell County Schools or Westwood or homeschooling, homeschooling, if it's an accredited homeschooling program, they're eligible. So if they're sitting in the classroom at Mitchell County, or they're at lunch at Mitchell County Schools or at Westwood, they're going to hear other students talking about the things that they want to see in this city. And I think at that particular point, those students, to affect or to impact the quality of life of what's happening here in the city of Camilla, this is why this resolution is written this way. Because the idea is that they're going to be our eyes and ears in the city of Camilla schools every single day. And they're going to bring that back to us. If someone is not going to school here, that's impossible to do that. Because surely no one's expecting us to develop policies for what kids are talking about in other cities. So I just wanted to point that out. And for that reason, I couldn't respectfully submit or support, if you will, the amendment offered by the councilwoman. But I yield the floor. Any other comments? All right. So we'll go ahead and vote. And again, you're voting to amend the current resolution as stated by Councilmember Tucker. All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? All right. We have a tie, so at this time I'll break the tie. The mayor votes no. All right, so motion fails. So what we'll do is go back to the original motion as submitted, the resolution as submitted. Is there any other discussion on that particular motion? And again, that motion was motion and properly seconded. Any other discussion?
Just when do we set to begin our council, the new youth council?
Sure. So the idea is to somewhere before the year is out. But I think in talking with the city manager, this is something that we're trying to do fairly quickly.
I will add a comment here. I'm very disappointed in that vote and not being able to see that a student that lives in the city would be able to participate. I'm not sure how the homeschool kids are going to talk to the other kids in the lunchroom, but we've included them, but we've excluded Baconton. I just want to say that in an effort to be supportive of our youth, and this is something that I had wanted to see occur, I'm going to be supporting the original motion, but with stating how disappointed I am that we cannot have a conversation without the fact that there is some disagreement that I see that as relatively minor and probably would affect only a few number of kids that were interested. But I will be supporting it because I believe this is necessary for the youth in our community.
Appreciate you. Councilman. Yes, sir.
The way this is structured is really discriminating against children who live in this town, no matter where they go to school. So this is it's not it's poorly written and it's unfair.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. All right. Any other comments? All right. So we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor? All opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Thank you, Councilman.
receive information and discuss sprinkler plant order 3 and 4. The city of Camilla is part of the project and has an option to tender a portion of its percentages in the project. Based upon information provided by MEAC Power staff concerning the tendering option decision pertaining to broker Unit 3 and 4 project, and after consultation with our internal staff concerning the potential benefits and costs associated with the tender option, the city council of the city of Camilla hereby notify MEAC Power of the following. And at this time, I will turn that over to Mayor Owens to further this.
All right, thank you, Councilman Paul. So prior to going into the actual SPVs for this particular item, I just want to verify with Councilman Pollard, was there a motion?
I didn't make the motion right now. I just thought maybe you could explain the different projects, MJ and P, and then after it's over, I guess we'll make the motion. Either you can make the motion, or I can make the motion. Either way, I'll support it and make the motion.
Okay. I tell you what, if you can do and I apologize, Councilman Pollard. What I'll do is take the individual vote, but in order to get there, we're going to make the motion and see her get a second. I appreciate that. My apologies.
Definitely. Well, as stated, I make that motion for approval. Tendering, MEAC Power.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion that's been properly seconded, and to Councilman Pollard's point, what I'll do now, the way that this motion is structured, and this motion came from MEAC Power for us to do it this way, we have to vote on all 3 of the SPVs, special purpose vehicles, for this particular project for 3 and 4. And basically, just to remind everybody, and one of the reasons why, well, let me do this before I get into that. Are there any, so we have a motion that's been properly second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, as I said last week, I'm gonna vote no to tender. I don't think this is the part thing to do, with the price of, it says power now, or power period. We were actually making money with our excess power, and, it's always, my money always have more rather than less. And, I don't see power, getting any cheaper and probably any of our lifetime. So this is I think an unwise move to vote to tender this, and I'm firmly against it.
All right, thank you, Councilman.
I would like to also mention that I'm not going to be supporting the exercise for the tender option in support of it as well. In talking with other cities, the city of Newnan, the city of Monroe, Calhoun, Cartersville, Chris Power, LaGrange, and Cairo have all elected not to support the tender option, which makes this really a very moot point because it does take all the cities together unanimously in order for us to exercise the tender option, even though I realize we have to go through the vote. So I'll be voting no also, and with respect to the fact that we do have excess capacity that we're able to sell.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Tucker. No, sir. All right. Any other comments? All right, so what I would say, and I'm glad that the Councilmember Palmer and Councilmember Tucker brought up great points as it relates to excess power. Because part of what we do here as it relates to this particular motion is that in exchange for tender, we will give up, if you will, some of our power generation. And the fact that it's already been acknowledged that we're currently selling excess power now, that in tendering, which basically, and again, what I'm telling you is not really secret sauce, if you will, that out in the public to some degree, that what we're dealing with is, and I'll call it a trigger, that we have reached a point for the construction cost of Vogtle 3 and 4, these nuclear facilities. If everybody recalls, this thing is supposed to have been online a few years ago. But because cost overruns and this type of thing and other things, you can relate it to COVID, some would say, that Vogtle 3 is not scheduled to come online until nearly around the spring of next year, and Vogtle 4 is not scheduled to come online until later next year. Basically, what we're saying is that Georgia Power would take on the responsibility of the remaining construction costs of something that's supposed to have been ready to go a few years ago. So it is, to me anyway, it seems practical that, the fuel hasn't even been loaded into 3 yet. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done over at Vogtle 3 and 4. And I think having the opportunity to trigger the tender so that the remaining costs of what it's going to take to build these facilities becomes Georgia Power in exchange for, what some would argue, a nominal amount of future energy. I think, and when we're already selling in excess, it just makes sense to me. But again, that's just my opinion, and on that I will yield the floor. Is there any other comments? All right, so again, Council, I'm going to go down for each of these projects, M, J, and P, and what I'll just do is ask you the affirmative question, if you will, because the motion was to approve it. So I'll ask the affirmative question for each one, and we'll just vote it up or down. Okay, everybody good? All right, here we go. The City of Camilla does support exercising the tender option by SPV-M. All in favor? All right, and unless I'm wrong, I have 3 votes here, so we'll do, going forward, let's just do the aye and no, if you will. And just for the record, let's just do that again. The City of Camilla does support exercising the tender option by SPV-M.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay. All right, so we can do some ayes and some hands. We'll be good. Thank you, sir. All right, so right now, that is 3-3. The mayor votes yes to tender. Motion carries on SPV-M. The City of Camilla does support exercising the tender option by SPV-J. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
The mayor votes yes to tender. Motion passes. And the final one, the City of Camilla does support exercising the tender option by SPV-P. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
The mayor votes yes to exercise tender option by SPV-P. All right, thank you, Council. Councilman Paul.
D, the mayor and council discussed a youth employment program to be hosted and sponsored by the City of Camilla. The program goal is to provide teen participants with real-life work experiences and preparation for the work world. The program will be from October to March, and ARPA funds in the amount of $100,000 will be allocated for the funding. The hourly rate of pay is $10, and youth will be employed through an application process. The age group for participant is 14 to 19 years of age. The city will be partnering with the Barley Girl Club to assist in the administration of the program. The council recommends approval of the youth employment program and allocate $100,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act to fund the program. This is in the form of a motion.
Second. All right, we have a motion that's been properly second. Any discussion?
I would comment here, just being a sponsor of this program, again, super excited about it. Really ready to promote this out into the community and getting our youth some jobs and getting them some money in their pocket just to assist in this economic climate that we're in, but also just giving our youth the proper training that they need to be successful as they continue to navigate throughout high school and out into what we call the real world. And I yield the floor.
Question, is this just, restricted to Boys and Girls Club, members?
Yeah, that is a great question. So, Boys and Girls Club is only administering this program for us. What we're doing is, if you're a nonprofit here in the region, you're going to be eligible to hire one or some of these young folks to work at your nonprofit. The vehicle to get that 14 to 19-year-old at your office to work will be the Boys and Girls Club. So they're just strictly the pass-through, if you will. They're going to administer the program for us. This is not a Boys and Girls program. They're just contacting the nonprofits. The nonprofits are saying, yeah, I need 2, I need 3 kids over here to work. The Boys and Girls Club will then give them their initial paperwork they need, set it up with the nonprofit, and then send that kid out to that nonprofit and work. They will turn their timesheets in to the Boys and Girls Club, and in return, the Boys and Girls Club will send this to us in order to reimburse. So that is the program. So no, if you are a student or a 14 to 19-year-old here in the city, and you're looking to work, and you meet the criteria for whatever these nonprofits are looking for, you'll have an opportunity to apply and just go from there. So you don't have to be. So I went all the way around 19 just to answer that question for you, Councilman Palmer. But the reality is that no, you do not have to be a member of the Boys and Girls Club.
Just a question, is that restricted just like the youth council to Mitchell County High School, which county school?
City of Camilla. So if you're a resident in the city of Camilla,
Well, that's, there again, it's discriminating against children who attend other schools who live in.
all right. So this is strictly a resident test, if you will. Right. That's right. If you live in the Corpus City limits of Camilla and you're 14 to 19 years old, you're eligible for this particular program.
I think that the question or the word that need to be heard or spoken is, if you're a citizen of Camilla, I think that would clarify that. If you're a youth and you're a citizen of the city of Camilla, then you are eligible. If you're between the ages 14 and 19, this is not a school thing.
Okay. And I think it's important to point out, and just another point, but before I get into that, let me just make sure, is there any, and thank you for that question, Councilman Palmer. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I just have a few things too, and Councilman Palmer clarified one for me that I really would like to see if we can, in this general information, where it talks about the youth being served in the bullet points, that we could say a citizen of Camilla or a resident of City of Camilla under those bullet points under youth served. This is the type of program that I would really, really like to get behind. And this is the type of thing that I could, if we had a functioning council where we talked to each other and worked out these things ahead of time. Because my concern is that for a 5-month program and the amount of $100,000 to me is a little excessive in the amount for a 5-month program. If October to March. And then the other thing that I have a concern is that the only accountability requirements that I see are timesheets. And I would just think that we would like to see more than just hours worked. We'd like to have something that was more quantitative, as well as to tell us maybe some anecdotal information about what it was the youth were actually doing for the nonprofit. That's the type of information. And again, I'm just going to say, I've been in local government since 1989. And the way a council should work is council members should talk to each other. But we have a proposal here that I would really like to get behind, but have an issue with the amount of $100,000, whereas if we could have worked out some kind of agreement, I could have supported it, as well as strengthening the accountability as well. But I cannot support it in the $100,000. If it was less than that, I could support it.
Okay. So and I appreciate those comments, Councilwoman, Councilmember Tucker. Are there any other comments? All right.
October, December, January, March, I think it's 6 months.
Yeah, roughly. Absolutely.
So it's not 6 months, still $100,000 was more than what I was willing to do for a half of the year.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you both. So, any other comments?
I was wondering how many kids.
Yeah, and that's what we're about ready to get into. And that's a great question, Councilman Collins. So this part right here, everybody, is the allocation of the money. And I think that there is a memorandum of understanding that will come after this, if you will, that will still come back before this council. So this is about allocating the money, but ideally the rough math right now is this is going to serve about 16 to 20 kids, and the total cost is about $72,000 to do that. And again, in the MOU that we'll have with the Boys and Girls Club, this council will have to approve that. So you'll see that again. There is also an anticipated somewhere between 12 and 18% in terms of administrative costs. Because again, the Boys and Girls Club is going to be required or we partner with them rather, to administer this program. So they're going to have administrative costs associated with that. So at $72,000, just at the raw salaries for these 14 to 19-year-olds, there's an additional cost that will come for the administration of the program. The checks, obviously, the training, and all of the other administrative support that these kids are going to require, just like with any other job. But before I say another word, let me say that I want to commend our Mayor Pro Tem, because this is something that he proposed. And if you recall, this is being funded out of ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act money. This is what the money was designed to do. And for our Mayor Pro Tem to honestly come up with this creative way to get these resources in the hands of our youth here, I think is nothing short of outstanding. And truly appreciate you for that. Everybody, I want you to understand something. This is the second item tonight on this agenda that talks directly about empowering our youth. I need everybody to understand that gang activity is on the rise in this region. If we do not get our kids involved in constructive activities, we are going to have a problem. This is not about The $100,000, and so that we're all clear, the city of Camilla received $1.8 million in ARPA funds. $1.8 million in ARPA money. We're dedicating $100,000 to this particular program to put 16 to 20-year-old kids out into the workforce, to learn the responsibility of getting up and going to work for the next 6 months. Ladies and gentlemen, I get it that folks have talked about their work of police task forces and these types of things. Listen, you can be I don't have a problem with folks that is in the business or have been in the business of enforcing the law. Don't have a problem with that. But we're going to have to get away from this mentality that the only way that we can deal with youth gang activity and these types of things is that we got to go lock a kid up. I submit to you that a war on poverty is a war on crime. Ladies and gentlemen, there are no words for me to express to you how important it is for us to get the kids in this city engaged in constructive activity. And the commitment that this city council is putting forward tonight, I think in terms of history, this is probably one of the most comprehensive amounts of resources that we're putting towards our youth in one night that we've probably done in this city's history. And I'm proud to sit in this chair to witness it. I yield the floor.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to what has been proposed so that I can be in support of this fully. And that is making an amendment to add on page 2 under Youth Serve, reside in the city of Camilla. And then under reporting and reimbursements, under the verification of hours worked via timesheets, also outcomes and testimonials of work performance.
I'll make a quick comment here on that.
Yes, sir.
In conversation with Ms. Peoples, who has assisted us in developing this program, the evaluations will be there, Councilwoman Tucker. That is something that she preached on greatly in our meetings, because of course we want to know how this program is going and how our youth are benefiting and growing from this program. So again, as the mayor mentioned, this is simply the budget narrative, and there is a separate MOU that is in the record.
And I do understand from reviewing this is that it's like a drawdown grant. They submit to you and then you reimburse. It's not that you're going to send a check for $100,000. Because just some quick math on the numbers that you mentioned, if they worked 15 hours a week, that totals up to about $60,000. If you can fully staff it at that meeting, and they can have the time to work 15 hours a week, and now you're getting closer to the amount that I would be comfortable with. So if I can offer that as a friendly amendment, then I would be in full support of this.
All right, so just to clarify, everybody, and again, I want you to really pay attention to the language of this document. This is the proposal. The actual memorandum of understanding has not been created yet. This is the funding source. So what you're voting on tonight, what you've gotten tonight, is the framework of the program and the anticipated cost. And again, the anticipated cost is about $72,000, not counting the administrative cost. But I do agree with you. I think the amendments that you're offering, I think should be included in the MOU if they're not already part of this proposal. I think putting that language in there as it relates to reside in Camilla. Even though, as the Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, there will be an evaluation, but putting that mechanism inside of the MOU and to have a way to gauge the outcomes, I think is also equally important. So I suspect that in September's, you should have a working document, MOU if you will, of what this actual program will be. What we're doing for you right now is just outlining the budget and the anticipated cost just for salaries for these kids is going to be about $72,000. And not knowing exactly what administrative costs are going to be, somewhere between 12 and 18%, that's what $100,000 comes from. So what you're voting on tonight is the basically the funding source and the $100,000.
I'd like to add that, on that, motion that, that you said to the memorandum of understanding be approved also after we receive that, we don't have that tonight.
I will amend my already amended motion to include, subject to a MOU with the items that we've discussed. Doing this in an effort, you understand, to try to let's reach a sense of cooperation among the council.
All right, so the original motion wasn't second, so basically you're in your deal. So including these items
I
plus
included
what
the
the,
two items, plus I will amend to say the, subject to the MOU, terms of the MOU, and that's in the form of an amended motion.
Second.
all right, we have a motion, so probably second, any discussion? All right, all in favor? All opposed? All right, so
I don't see the need for it to continue, but I do agree with the residential. As we always stated, I don't see the need for contingency fund in a way. It's something we already definitely gonna discuss within the September meeting. And this stuff is still ongoing process, and this is not a full document of the process of what this will look like. So I don't see the need for contingency fund.
yeah, the idea of the concept of what Councilmember Tucker is speaking of, and I think, and I'll give you my vote here shortly, but the reason why I'm gonna vote the way that I am is that I've already agreed that I think those items that you mentioned will make it in the MOU. So for that reason, the mayor votes no to the amendment. So we'll go back to the original motion. So the motion fails. We'll go back to the original motion. All right. Any other discussion on the original motion? All right. All in favor? All opposed? All right. Motion carries. Thank you, Councilman. All right, Councilman.
The mayor and council discussed the purchase of voting machines to be used in the city of Camilla municipal election. The council recommends authorizing city manager strives to spend up to $60,000 from economic development funds to purchase required equipment for the city to conduct its election with electronic voting technology. This is in the form of a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion?
I would ask that if city manager Strauss can give us an update on the electronic equipment, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilmember. The last quote that I have was just the other day, and it was in the amount of, make sure I read this to you right. The last number I had was $38,811
Yes, just one question that I had, when you mentioned that about the EMS server was not needed.
Yes, ma'am.
You'll recall that I said that I did not think we were going to be allowed to have an EMS server because there's no cities in Georgia that are allowed to have an EMS server. But the EMS server is what creates your media that you use to put in your ICP and your BMD. So in the absence of us not having a server, how would our media be created for us? And I'm assuming that it would be created for us by Dominion,
Yes.
but there is no cost shown on here for that fee. That was my question. So we don't have the answer to that question.
The cost that I have right now is when I met with them, tell me exactly what I need to be able to run this election. So if we miss something,
Certainly.
then I'll go back to them. But I promise you, the conversation was, give me everything that I need to run a successful election.
All right, well, I have a few thoughts here, that's all right. All right, one thing that is omitted from here is the logic and accuracy testing cost. Now, the last time I saw a Dominion price sheet, it was $2,000 per day. That has to be done every election. So that is not included on here. Then the question that I just mentioned is, in the absence of having an EMS server, who creates your media for you? You're going to need SD cards for every ICP that you have. You're going to need poll worker cards created, and you're going to need technician cards created. So when they come to you, they're just blank cards. It's just like, it looks like a hotel room key. But the chip on, you're going to have that program. Your server is what programs it. So in the absence of that, who's going to do it? And again, I assume the opinion is they're not going to do it for free. So we need to know that cost to be able to know that. One thing I note on here is they're charging you $648 for voter cards. There's nothing in this price sheet that activates a voter card. So let me kind of explain what I'm thinking of here. In a county election, when you go into vote, and you show your form of ID, they have a reader that's on a poll pad. And it reads your driver's license number, and it connects you then, it correlates you then via your driver's license number with your voter registration information. And everyone has a unique voter identification number with the state. And we have our own combos based on the fact that all of us live in the 2nd Congressional District, and all of us live in Joe Campbell's House District, and we live in Freddie Sims. So as you keep layering on, then Councilman Burley does not live in the same school board district that I live, or city district, or county commission district. So his combo is going to be different from mine. So the green card that you have to program to say, I need a ballot with this combination of candidates on it. They have you quoted for the cards, but how are you going to create the ballot on that card? How's the ballot going to get on that card? So that would be a question that I would have there too. I've run a few numbers here, and if you would allow me just a moment, and then I will end on this. Some of these stats I've already mentioned before, is that there's a really good reason why 90% plus of the cities in Georgia contract with the counties to do this through an IGA, because elections are complicated. But I can't offer, and this was what I had offered a few days after I was elected in November of 2021, I came down here to City Hall and offered this as an option. Buy 2 ICPs. Let the voter vote on a piece of paper and scan it through the ICP. That is going to be, your staff is going to be much more pleased with that system versus having to have BMDs and ICPs. Because that will, what I think our results quicker. So to get the results quicker, the scanner is the only tool that does that for you, okay? The BMD is actually going to rather slow the process down because people were accustomed to getting a piece of paper, bubbling it in and handing it, dropping it in a box. So it will slow that, but I mean, that's not my point. My point is that if I was to make a recommendation, ICP scanners, so that we can have our citizens come in, our poll workers, look them up, just like they've done on the electors list, hand them their ballot, they mark their ballot, they run it through the scanner. At 7:05, you'll have the results. Okay? And you also will have a verifiable ballot that if somebody wants to contest it, they can be counted by hand to verify it. But the numbers that I ran today were this. I ran the numbers on both the election that Councilman Pollard, Councilman Palmer, and myself were in November 21. We had 1,054 people to vote in that election. But I also ran the numbers on the election, the special election for Councilman Collins. 600 people voted, okay? All right, and so based on what was told that our budget was $10,000, for the 600 voters that voted on paper ballot, that's about $17 per vote, okay? If we go to the system here, it's going to easily be 3 times that because of the additional costs that go along with the operational side. And I come to you with having experience in this. Kathy Cox was the Secretary of State when in 2001 she or the state purchased the first election equipment, and I went in 2001 to be trained as a technician, and have worked every year since then. So just to compare and I tried to be extremely conservative with some of the operating costs here. The election where Councilman Collins was elected at $17 per vote, if those same 600 people showed up to vote, it would be $50 a vote per person, everyone to vote. And when you start talking about it in that perspective, I think citizens start paying attention to and all you need to do is talk to any county election official to know that their budgets have tripled because of the election equipment. So please understand that I am fully supportive of us getting scanners. I believe that we are not large enough as a city. When our last 2 elections, Mr. Collins had 600 to turn out, and District 1 and District 2 together had 1,054 to turn out. And so, based on our size, it really does not warrant the full scale of equipment. I have that information also validated with the Secretary of State's office and with some of the Dominion officials I work with, that this is more equipment than what we really need.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just offer up that the ICP is going to get us what we want, which is results at 7:05.
Yes, ma'am. Just keep in mind, Councilman, my charter was to bring it to you,
Understand?
and then you guys are going to tell me the direction that you want to go.
Right. And I can only offer to you what experience that I have over from 2001 until 2022, working every year in elections with equipment.
All right, Council, thank you, Councilwoman, and thank you, Mr. City Manager. One of the things I wanted to do here was to obviously allow Councilmember Tucker to express her expertise in this particular field, and it is obviously appreciated. I just want to remind everybody that right now, and our city attorney, he's here, and I guess he can correct me if I'm municipalities, when it comes to how our elections are conducted, is a little bit different than it from everybody else, in terms of what the rules are and what we can do, if you will. Right now, this how elections are conducted in the city of Camilla. None of the, and whereas I can appreciate the councilwoman's thoughts in terms of the technical piece, if you will, but once these machines arrive here, it's a little bit different than how the county operates, or even the state, if you will. Excuse me, Councilwoman. So what I would say is that, and I was standing there because obviously this is important, and as the city manager has pointed out, very direct question: what do I need to run a municipal election? That's what we've been presented with here this evening. The other aspects of the technical stuff, if you will, the minion will help us with that. And again, whereas we can appreciate the expertise and the math, if you will, that the councilwoman said that she did, can truly appreciate that. But I think other than trying to get results at 7:05, what we're actually trying to do is move the city of Camilla into the 21st century. That's what we're trying to do. Give me 1 second, sir. So I think for that reason, this is something that I think that I'll be supporting, and I appreciate the city manager going back, getting this extra information, and so we'll just go from there. Councilman Palmer.
Mr. Stroud, on the T-Splot, on the list, it's identified $50,000 to do this. Where is the difference in the money? 50 between what you said.
For this particular area, we asked for, originally, you guys did not give me a full number. You told me to go out and find the equipment and what I needed to run a successful election. I brought about 3 quotes of that. And so tonight, I mean, you have the latest quote, so I'm not trying to figure out which dollar you have.
50,000 was identified and asked. Where's the difference between 50 and whatever your figure is going to be?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I can help you out there, Mr. City Manager. Yes. So it was originally discussed that this would come from economic development. And in this case, remember, this is, as the council member just pointed out, this is coming from SPLOS that will be voted on in November. So the idea would be the reimbursement for that. In the interim, because we need to get this equipment in here now, that will be paid out of economic development. So that's the funding source.
Does that mean in the proposed budget that we're going to be working on soon, these increased costs, is that going to be identified in the budget that we do here on out?
Yeah, well, it's already inclusive. For when we have an election, there's already a budget for the elections. Well, I think it's somewhere between 10 and 12, but I think we did about 18. Yeah, I think we did about 18,000. I think we were only budgeted for, in this current year's budget. So we had an election in November, and we had a special election. We were budgeted somewhere between 10 and 12, but I think we spent about 18. So there's already a budget built in for elections in those election years. So that's already inherent. Because the economic development money is unbudgeted, if you will, this will not have any impact. The purchase of this equipment won't have any impact on our budget.
But I don't think this money should be thrown out with economic development. I don't think that meets the definition of economic development.
Yeah, and I think anytime that you talk about economic development, that is one of those subjects that is subject to varying opinions, if you will. But I think anything that you can do to improve the quality of life, and especially how we select our elected officials, I believe fits in the realm of economic development. All this stuff counts in terms of the technology that we're using. I think folks that may consider moving here would like to know that we've grown beyond papers and pens, if you will, to elect our leaders. So, all right.
I have one final comment, please.
Sure.
Okay. I believe I understand now, in looking at this proposal, if your question pros to Dominion was what do I need to run an election, I know why you have more on here than what is needed. Because if I was in the sales field, I would try to oversell you as well. I'm disappointed that my 20 plus years of technical skills regarding election are not being considered, and it's going to cost the city of Camilla's citizens additional money. And in just one note, I want to make certain that I correct the record. No matter if a city or a county does an election, you are subject to all election law under OCGA 21-2. We do not run elections as we wish. We follow the law in the city and in county elections. I'll be voting no on this because this is an excessive amount of equipment for a race such as Mr. Collins with 600 voters, or for Councilman Pollard's 1,000 voters for District 1 and 2 combined. This is an excessive amount of equipment. And I would be glad to sit down with you and the mayor and work the numbers out with you, the formulas that they have given us in the Secretary of State's office, to show you exactly how much equipment that we need. This is far too much equipment. I'll be voting no.
All right, and I agree with you, Councilwoman. I think the law, whether it's on paper or technology, I think that has to be followed. And so that the record is clear, we're talking about the method of how we count votes, if you will. That's what I'm speaking of. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on the record for that. And the good news is, as it relates to opinions around this table, there are 7 elected officials that are here. And the good news is, and per our charter, it is the majority of the council, not just one council member. The majority of the council ultimately makes a decision of what makes sense and what doesn't. And to the, just real quick, based on a comment just a moment ago, I want to make sure everybody understands the city manager did exactly what we asked him to do. Period. So whether or not folks are being, the salesperson did this or did that, or whatever the case may be, the city manager did exactly what he was charged to do and asked to do. Nothing more, nothing less. What ultimately happens next is on the elected officials in this room, not him. So I just want to make sure that that's pointed out. All right. Any other discussion?
I'll just add that, City Manager Strauss, I definitely can appreciate everything that you have brought to the table. You did exactly what was asked of you, and that was to bring us back to numbers. And I would just echo what Mayor Warren said, that that's up to us where we go from there. And that's not based upon what one's experience may be, but it's a collective of the council to make that decision on where we go next. And I think at this time, we're ready to vote.
All right. Any other comments? All right. And that amount that, if I'm correct, just to make sure, 60,000. All right. So just a reminder, council, we have a motion that's been properly seconded, and what you're voting on is the council recommends authorize the city manager's trial to spend up to $60,000 from economic development funds to purchase required equipment for the city to conduct elections with electronic voting technology. All in favor? All opposed?
No.
The motion. All right, we have three to three. The mayor votes yes. Motion passes. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, yeah.
Yes, sir.
The mayor and council discussed the new city of Camilla Resource Center that will house the Boys and Girls Clubs. SRJ Architect has prepared preliminary cost estimated for the construction of the center that will be funded with $1.5 million from the MEAG Trust Fund and other funds to include SPLOSH, ARPA, and economic development. The architect's scope of service include usual and customary structure, mechanical, and electrical engineering services. The council recommends approval for Mayor Orange to enter into a contract with SRJ Architect to construct the City of Camilla Resource Center and sign the standard form agreement between owner and architect for the project as submitted. This in the form of a motion.
Second. Well, the motion has been properly seconded. Any discussion? All right, just want to remind everybody that and thank you, Councilman Polidoro, thank you so much, I appreciate that. The contingent upon final approval from the city attorney. Our city attorney has reviewed this document and has approved it as to form. So that has been done. All right. Any other discussion? All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is where you got all kinds of conflicting things here. This building now is called a resource center. I tell you what that is.
Yes, sir. So as if you're not aware, just for the public and for the council, the current building that the Boys and Girls Club are in right now, the building that they're in, is called the Metro County Resource Center, if you will. But the city of Camilla owns it. So I want to make sure that that distinction is there. The building is owned by the city of Camilla. The name on the outside is the Mitchell County Resource Center. And it's a resource center because not only is the Boys and Girls Club in there, you'll also have at least one nonprofit that operates out of that building. So it's just that. But obviously, because the Boys and Girls Club is currently in there, the idea is once this particular resource center is built, it will house the Boys and Girls Club as we're doing right now, because it will be a building obviously owned by the city. So that's the distinction.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I asked for a vote of the board of the Boys and Girls Club, and I did not get that. Number two, the number of students or participants or whatever you want to call it, that live in the city of Richmond County, that attend the Boys and Girls Club. And number three, I haven't heard anybody say or anyone say that any outside source for funding was mentioned or even sought out. So with not having that information, I support the Boys and Girls Club, and I'll leave you alone.
Okay. All right. Any other comments?
Well, I'm already on the record and will not repeat myself on concerns about the maintenance of the building. There hasn't been any discussion about long-term maintenance, insurance, the cost of parking lots. And quite honestly, I've not had the first resident that has given support to this project. And I think it all boils back to the $1.5 million being pulled from the trust fund is the reason for this. And these are people who are supporters of the Boys and Girls Club. The citizens who have called me, who have asked me to please vote no on this, have for years supported the Boys and Girls Club. But as I said, I'm already on the record being opposed to the $1.5 million that is coming from the trust fund. I also will be voting no.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Tucker. There's a couple of comments that
reminded that the Boys and Girls Club sits in District 2. And a lot of the kids that attend the Boys and Girls Club is residents of District 2. But ain't nobody came. That's kind of unbelievable to me that nobody said anything about or someone would vote against putting their kids in a more safer environment. And it's gonna complain about how much you spend on my child. Who's gonna complain about that? Who don't want to see that? But you support the Boys and Girls Club, but what are you saying? Who is in the Boys and Girls Clubs? I think it's boys and girls, young men and young ladies that will hopefully be our future that the Boys and Girls Club interact with, that they house. So if you for Boys and Girls Club, certainly you should be for the kids. You can't separate the two. There is no difference in the two. The Boys and Girls Club only exists because they're warm bodies. Male and female. So which one are you for? I use the club.
All right, thank you, Councilman. And again, I think that the idea, and Councilman Pollard made a great point related to that. And this, I spoke earlier about the investments that we're making tonight. We're making probably the most significant investment in our children that we've made, and I would argue, in Camilla's history in one night. To Councilman Pollard's point, I don't know who would be against increasing or improving the technology for the children of this town. This is workforce development at its core. And as I mentioned earlier, when you're talking about growing a city, what better investment that you can make, that I don't think you can make, the best investment that a city can make is in its children. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All right, so at this time, we'll vote again. We have a motion that has been properly seconded. And again, council, what you're doing is the council recommends the approval for Mayor West to enter into a contract with SRJ Architects to construct the City of Camilla Resource Center and sign the standard form of agreement between the owner and architect for the project as submitted. And again, the city attorney has already reviewed it and approved it. And at this time, Madam Clerk, this will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Tucker,
No.
Councilman Garland,
Yes.
Councilman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
No.
Councilman Pollard,
Yes.
Councilman Holmes.
No.
All right, we have a tie, and the mayor votes yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Council.
I would opt to turn it over to you, Mayor Owens.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there a motion to, in accordance with park policy, the splash park is open when K-12 school is on summer break, on weekends when K-12 school is in session, and closed during the winter months. The council recommends amending the policy to allow the park to be open 7 days a week until Labor Day. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Well, the motion's been properly seconded. Any discussion?
I do want to make the distinction that this is worded differently than the proposed motion that I made at the work session to be brought forward. I'm fine with this motion, but what I made was that the city manager is authorized to adjust park hours and days as needed. That's the way I had presented for this motion to be read.
And you can amend your motion to do that.
It's becoming quite the theme tonight. I will do an amendment to this motion to the city manager is authorized to adjust park hours and days as needed.
Is there a second to the amendment? Have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion? All right. All in favor? All opposed? We have a tie. The mayor votes no. Motion fails. Thank you, Council. All right. Councilman Paul.
H. The mayor and council discussed the submitting of a GFO loan application for infrastructure improvement at the city of Springfield. The city has been identified to receive $1,578,000 from the Clearwater State revolving funds with a potential principal forgiveness of $710,100. The council recommends authorizing the mayor to sign the loan application and forward to the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority. This is in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and proper second. Any discussion? All right, Council, I'll be signing this sometime this week and get it to the city manager to get this where it needs to be. All right. Any other discussion? And Mr. President, and do that the record is clear, and I'm sure this is already done, just so that we'll have that on the record. Yes, sir. So you're good.
You're gonna receive
The record deal. Indeed. Perfect. All right, thank you, sir. All right. Any other discussion? All right, so all in favor? All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Council.
At this time, I'd like to turn it over to you as well, Mayor.
All right. All right. Mayor and council discuss request to refund MEAG Trust Fund in the amount of $710,100, representing the potential principal forgiveness of the GFA loan to make infrastructure improvements at the Springfield. Is there a motion to refund $710,100 back to the MEAG Trust Fund?
Motion. Second.
We have a motion to properly second. Any discussion? All right. All in favor? All opposed? We have a tie. The mayor votes no. Thank you, Councilman.
J. The mayor and council discussed the city relationship and obligation with the Mitchell County High School, College, and Career Academy internship program. 7 high school students will be selected to intern with the city. Mayor, if you would, let me repeat that one more time.
Absolutely.
7 high school students will be selected to intern with the city. 3 students will be assigned to shadow the city manager, city clerk, and human resource director. 2 students will be assigned to the electrical department, 1 to public works, and 1 to the water department. The council recommends allocating $100,000 for economic development to fund the internship program. This is in a form of a motion.
Second. I have a motion to properly second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd just like to add that across municipalities everywhere, city workers and county workers are getting older, and this is a great opportunity to develop a pipeline to have an experienced workforce. So I would love for this body to support this.
Question, Mr. Stroud. Nowhere in the ARPA funds or any of
Any other comments? I'll just add, and I'm sorry, I'll just echo what the city manager just mentioned again. Tonight, this city council is making it clear to the world that we're serious about developing our youth in this city. We are serious about developing the youth in this city. And hopefully, years from now, this night will somehow manifest itself so that you can see exactly why this is so important. Really looking forward to this program. I think this is going to be awesome. All right, any other comments?
Just for the record, I'd just like for it to report that this is something that was already committed by prior council on September the 7th, 2021. There was already a commitment made to this internship program and several others. So I just want to make that part of the record that this was we're fulfilling a commitment we had already previously made.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out, as we've done earlier tonight, what we're talking about now is the funding source. And as the council member Palmer just pointed out, the CCA as it is right now, we said that we would do some stuff, and I'm glad that council member Tucker has brought up this point. She mentioned this happened in September of last year. It's taken a year to get this done. A whole year. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Councilmember Tucker. All right. Any other comments? All right. Madam Clerk, please do a roll call.
Councilmember Tucker,
Yes.
Councilman Burley,
Yes.
Councilman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
Absolutely.
Councilman Palmer.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. Motion carries. Thank you.
K, the mayor and council discussed the terms and conditions of an employment agreement for interim city manager Dennis Strauss. The interim city manager shall receive a base salary of $110,000 and other rights and responsibilities as defined and outlined in the agreement. The council recommends executing the employment agreement with a term of June 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, and authorizes the mayor to sign. This is in the form of a motion.
Second.
All right. We have a motion. It's been properly second. Any discussion? Let me just say for the record that the city manager Stroud got here in June, and I'm glad to see that this motion takes it back to that date, the June 1st. And if anybody's taking score there, that's June, July, so in about 2 months, this city manager has hit the ground running. And in the last, to the point that was made just a moment ago, we have been extremely active as a council in the last 2 months, approving things that were already approved a year ago. This man has come here and got to work. And let me tell you, and if you don't mind, no sir, appreciate you. If you notice this motion, it says June 1st. Tell you what this man did. He came here. Don't worry about me. I'm just going to do the work. You guys can get me later. Not worry about the contract right now, Mayor. Got to get to work. We can talk about how we're going to do the benefits and all that other stuff. We can do that later on. But right now, we got to get to work. Yes, sir. I yield the floor. Any other comments? All right. All in favor of approving this contract, employment agreement for interim city manager Dennis Stroud, of an effective date of the contract of June 1st, 2022 to run through June 30th, 2023, and authorizing the mayor to sign. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Finally, for tonight, we have L, which will return to City Manager Strauss to present this item.
Yes, sir. Mr. City Manager.
Is that from the report this year?
Oh, that's the financial consultant.
Okay, okay.
Since you another later today, talk about it in this.
So for that piece, the consultant fee, should I just yield to that one the next time?
You like,
So,
yeah, it's all right, Mr. Mayor. Actually, this contract's gonna be with, a SRMPC. We don't pay Ms. Roberts as an employee, and we pay her, as a principal in this corporation, so I redrafted it this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
To reflect it, I think you can go ahead and approve it. It's $67,500 a year. It's just that if we were an employee, we have to take out FICA and all those sorts of things. But that's not what we do with the contract. So, with that change, Councilman, I think you can go and approve it. I've already sent it, and we'll get that executed right away.
All right. So if, so what I'll be asking the council, based on our city attorney's additions or amendments, if you will, to the contract that was sent, and he since corrected some of the language in there, is there a motion to authorize the mayor to sign this contract with a financial consultant contingent upon the changes indicated by our city attorney are done? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion that's properly second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, Council,
Mayor and Council, this concludes the report, action items report for the agenda. I'm sorry, we did have 7. Would that be something that, of course, the city manager, do I need to talk about those things?
No, sir. We'll go ahead and turn it over to the city manager, and I'll just ask for a motion from the floor.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Back in July or June, you asked me to look at 4 primary streets to get them bid out. Dogwood, Twitty, Fern, and what we were calling Bland. We went out, we did the proposal, we had bidders to come in. Friday, it closed. We had 2 companies to report back. One, of course, they withdrew their bid, and Reeves came in at the lowest bidder that met all of our specifications at a price of $214,050. I ask that you approve this so that I can get this project going.
So moved.
Just hold 1 second. So I'll go ahead and introduce the motion. I know you're fine. I'll introduce the motion, and then we'll take it from there. But I appreciate that. Thank you, Councilman. So is there a motion to award the paving contract as submitted to Reeves Construction for the city manager to supervise that and authorize the mayor to sign?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like the street to be identified as overwood street. Not, that's what you call it, because it's people all over that by the
City Manager, do you feel comfortable that the Reeves construction price, since that's your only bid, you still feel like it's a competitive bid?
I do, because initially we done the math for the tonnage, and we looked online at what those side streets were strictly resurfacing, and actually he came in with a real good number.
Okay, very good. I was reluctant to put it back out to bid if you felt like this was a comfortable number.
It was a good number.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was my question, is that going to meet all DOT requirements and other requirements attached to this funding?
Absolutely, sir. You really can't bid out anything like road resurfacing without meeting all GI specifications. So you have to put that in the bid, and they have done that.
My point was, the city didn't get it on the
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't think that's not an issue. I worked this before. We put it out there. 2 companies came to the table. It's just one of them withdrew.
All right. And I just want to point out a couple of things, that the funding for this, if the council recalls, when we drew down the MEAG trust, there was $300,000 inside of there that was meant for additional paving. This $214,000 will come out of that $300,000 from the MEAG trust. And I just want to make sure that the funding source is identified. And I also want to point out, as Councilmember Palmer has pointed out, one of the streets that will be getting paved is what the council is calling what is Underwood Street, or what we were calling Glam Street. If you go over there right now, and I saw this weekend, we got folks that are businesses that are improving their facades right now. And that street, and I'm sure everybody, if you get your hair or any of your medical procedures over in that area, you know what that road has looked like. And again, this is one of the things I was speaking of earlier. It has been that way for years, that road over there. And this is just one of 5 roads that, again, 2 months on the job, we've had a bid, and based on this vote tonight, this stuff is going to finally get done. It's amazing. I yield the floor.
I'd like to add one last comment here. Was in conversation with the city manager about this, but want to put it on the record. Would like to see us do some creative marketing with our road paving and infrastructure, showcasing signage, letting the residents know that their street is being paved, possibly when it's being paved, and funding sources of where it's coming from. I think that people deserve some type of recognition and awareness of when their roads are being taken care of.
Yes, sir.
I'll agree with that.
I told you.
All right. Any other comments? All right. All in favor of awarding Reeves Construction this paving contract to be paid for from $300,000 from the MEAG trust that was drawn down earlier this year? All in favor, and Madam Clerk, this will be a roll call vote.
Councilmember Douglas,
Yes.
Councilman Burley,
Yes.
Councilman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
Yes.
Councilman Fowler,
Absolutely.
and Councilman Palmer.
No.
All right. Thank you, Council. Motion carries. All right, Mr. City Manager.
The next item, Mr. Mayor and Council, was the award, the Toombs Park basketball court area and playground area. Again, we submitted this out to bid. 3 vendors came to the table. It took a moment because we were concerned about quality. And once we got there, we found that Ship & Son Fence Company meted all the specs and had the lowest bidder. Was the lowest bid at $54,826.89. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, sir. And again, this is part of the enhancements that we talked about as it relates to ARPA. We set aside $300,000 of ARPA funds for future park enhancements. This is an extension of that. And again, this is the pavilion. The pavilion was built last year, and again, 2 months on the job, the fence is ready to go. And this is going to add a tremendous amount of what we're hoping anyway, safety as it relates to that park over there to help with the access to that park for our kids to play in safety and security. So again, Mr. City Manager, kudos to you, my friend. All right, so council, again, is there a motion to approve, to award the fence contract to Schiff and Sons Fencing in amount of $54,000? I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
$54,826 and 89 cents.
$54,826.89. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Gotcha, I'm sorry. Madam Clerk, just want to remind me that this is, you're authorizing me to sign this contract.
Second.
I'm sorry, let's go ahead and do that again. All in favor? I'm sorry, is there a motion?
Motion.
All right.
Second.
Have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. All right. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. An update on our airport fuel fund. Today I did speak to Passero, and that grant application has been submitted. And of course, they feel favorable about it, but they're still waiting on GDOT. So nothing can happen until they get approval back from GDOT. We talked about Dominion. The gateway signs, I also spoke to, I think it's Barbara, who tells me that the week of the 15th, they will begin the foundational work. And of course, the pump that we've been waiting on is ready, and I believe it's scheduled to get started getting installed this week. But I need a good date for that.
That's the 15th of this month?
The week of, you talking about the gateway sign?
Yes.
Yes, sir. He told me the week of 15 August. Not the sign itself, just the foundational work.
Shelves in the ground.
Yes, sir. Shelves in the ground. Mr. Mayor, I think we've covered everything.
All right. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. The only mayor's comments that I have is just to tell the city, continue to do what you're doing. I am extremely proud of everything that I'm seeing in this city, and I'm extremely proud of the work that was done here tonight. And I'm just looking forward to doing more of this and doing things to help move our city forward. And with that, the next item that we have is there a motion to go into executive session to, yes, sir?
Before we go into executive, executive, even motion, go into executive. There was a thing I wanted to clarification on this people.
Fair enough.
Mr. City Manager.
Yes, sir.
You know, touch on that, I see a lot of people on this out here, about projects and things that are going on. Can you touch on that for us, please?
Yes, sir. The whole purpose of that table is really, the top half is just to let you know that what loans are in progress. And that second half, those 210, if you would, is that we just haven't started. I try to put it in there the best way I can, but the top half is just to tell you how much money you're spending, and that second half is really to tell you that they're just in progress and they're just not moving.
So at this time, we still have projects that have not been completed, and we have loans that are still out there.
Yes, sir.
That have not, projects that have not been completed as of today.
Correct, sir.
And I'm assuming that these are years, a year or more, that these
chief, but it's not included, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I was ending with what you guys did before I put it out there. Thank you.
All right.
And you expect to have something similar to this from your discussion with me, similar to this, to show us the same thing with respect to ARPA, SLOSS.
Absolutely.
All
Anytime
of
I bring financials, all those will be his
Okay.
SLOSS, T-SLOSS.
Because we have seen a lot of money spent tonight, we'd like to see some balances of those, okay? So if we could have it in that similar form, that's great. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the city manager? All right, as you recall earlier, there was a motion to amend the agenda to add an item of going into executive session to speak on a legal matter. So at this time, is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss a legal matter?
Motion to enter executive session for the purpose of legal.
Second.
All right, we have a motion's been properly seconded.
No.
No.
Just to amend the.
Yeah, so this is to actually go into executive session to discuss a legal matter. Not sure, the only comment that I would have, not sure what the legal matter specifically would be.
I had presented it to city manager earlier in the week.
Okay. All right, so any other discussion? All right, all in favor to go into executive session to discuss a legal matter? Yeah, go ahead.
I'll add to another, is this legal matter something that we have to do with the city attorney? And that we are, I mean, 'cause I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
What she asked me, I did talk to the city attorney about it, and at that time, he didn't feel that we had a need. So I turned it back over to him.
Well,
We've got that line of notice, and I think you discussed it, and that's, I'm sure what you want to talk about. And so it's perfectly legal to go into that. I don't know that I'm going to be able to enlighten you very much about it. That's the first thing you do is send it to your insurance carrier and that kind of thing. And they'll appoint a lawyer, but I'll be happy to discuss it with the council issues.
well, with that in mind, council, and I think the city attorney has already indicated through our city manager that this is, well, this way. I concur with the concept that this is not something that I think at this stage anyway that we need to be discussing publicly or privately, if you will. The lawyers are dealing with this. Excuse me, ma'am. Councilwoman, please. So this is not something that I would recommend. The lawyers are doing their thing, and I would say allow them to continue to do that. And when the time comes, if the time comes to where we have to have a conversation again, or whatever the case may be, I'm sure our city attorney will let us know that. All right, but I yield the floor. Any other comments?
Isn't there a time limit on that?
Well,
30 days, 40 days?
They're demanding a sizable amount of money, and you have 30 days to pay it, or they go on. But I'm not going to be representing y'all with this. That's not the way it works. It will probably be an attorney, but I won't mention his name. I think I know who it is. We'll learn this afternoon.
Yeah, I think, here's what I would recommend. Well, no, I'm not gonna make any recommendations as it relates to this. What I will, excuse me, man, I'm gonna have the floor, Councilwoman, I have the floor. If there are questions as a council to talk about this, animal item notice, if you will, I'm sure that the majority of the council will want to do that, if you will. I think at this stage, it's already been forwarded to the attorneys to represent, to allow them to do what they do. And when the time comes, if the time comes for us to speak on this, I am sure that our city attorney will let us know that. In the interim, I would recommend that we let this process go as it's going. There is no requirement for us to discuss this item at all, publicly or privately. All right, I yield the floor. All right, any other discussion?
Did we have a motion on the floor?
Yes, ma'am. You motion, and I think, and
And I don't.
okay. All right, we have a motion to properly second. And again, the question is, or the motion is, to go into executive session to discuss a legal matter.
And the purpose that I was trying to explain was because there are council members who have questions.
Oh, no, that is completely understood.
That would, yes.
Completely understood. And I suspect that a majority of this council will, here shortly, vote on whether or not to go into executive session to discuss that. All right, any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if all of you are named individually, of course, if anybody wants to talk about this outside of a meeting, I'll be happy to do that.
Exactly. Thank you. Ms.
And I have to do that.
Yeah, so this city attorney, I didn't want to put your name out there like that, but I appreciate you making that point that yes, if you have questions concerning this, I am sure that our city attorney will be more than happy to discuss it with you. All right, any other discussions? All right, all in favor of going into executive session to discuss a legal matter?
Yes.
All opposed? Motion, the mayor, we have a tie, the mayor votes no. Motion fails. Is there any more business of the city? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?